UFOs, the phenomena is real. And I say the UFO phenomena as opposed to just saying UFOs are real because people that believe that there are mundane explanations, and certainly not aliens, will say, well, of course UFOs exist. It just means it's an object that's unidentified. When I talk about UFOs in the context of a phenomena, I'm not using it in the literal sense that it's just an unidentified object. The UFO phenomena is a category of that combines certain types of unidentified objects that share certain traits and are unable to be identified after all possible man-made or natural explanations have been ruled out. So if I just see a light in the sky, I've had this experience many times where we're out looking at the stars and somebody sees a light in the distance and they're like, hey, what is that? You're trying to figure it out. Is that a star, or is it a plane, or is it a satellite? And sometimes you just can't identify it. You're like, well, gosh, I don't know what that was. I mean, could have been a lot of things, but that's not a UFO. Because that the it's I mean, for that matter, if I saw a light in the sky and I couldn't tell if it was a helicopter or an airplane or a drone or something like that, you'd see a light moving in the sky and maybe it's flashing lights. And you're like, well, I can't identify it. I don't know what it is, but you can at least assume that it's some type of aircraft. I mean, I guess you could say it's identified on some level, but it's still unidentified because you don't know exactly what it is. So the point is, there are certain traits that many of them have in common, but if you want to get to the most central traits, one is that they display intelligent control. So that means you can rule out natural phenomena. Swamp gas and ball of lightning and whatever meteors and stuff like that. They don't demonstrate intelligent control. So that means that you can rule out natural phenomena. And then the second one is that they exhibit behavior that is not possible according to the level of technology that man-made aircraft has, or also demonstrates a breaking of the laws of physics as we understand them. So because a lot of these so you could say that, well, it's just a really advanced technology, that it's just like it's a top secret program where they this is like advanced next generation, the next generation stealth fighter, like the F-117. I think that was the first stealth airplane that people had, and nobody knew about it, and it had technology that cloaked it from radar, and it's like, wow, people didn't know that technology existed. and they might, if somebody saw one of those things in the sky, or the B-1, just the flying wing, you might think, gosh, that's doesn't look anything like an airplane. Interestingly, my dad has worked for the government and has actually, he did engineering for satellites, and he was actually involved, I don't know how directly, but he was involved with, on some level, or had knowledge of the development of some of those advanced aircraft like the F-117, as they were being developed. And I've asked him if he had ever seen evidence of UFOs, um, when he was there, and like, is there a government cover up? And he said, no, it's actually the exact opposite. When these aircraft were being developed, the government actually wanted people to believe in UFOs because they were a good way to cover up the fact that we had this technology. So if people saw this stuff and everybody says, "Oh, they're UFO, they must be UFOs," then China doesn't know what we're capable of. So that's interesting. But the laws of physics aspect is really important because it rules out advanced technology. Because it's one thing to have figured out some cool new technology, when you put together, a bunch of engineers and a bunch of, people that design aircraft, and you just team up and you try to come up with something new and revolutionary, and somebody does come up with something, like a new type of engine perhaps, or a new type of um, uh, stealth technology. Apparently they actually invented a stealth helicopter that was used in the raid on bin Laden. I don't know really how that works. But in any case, it's one thing to come up with a really cool new technology that uses the laws of physics as we understand them. And so, because what that means is that you come up with a new cool type of propulsion system that maybe it uses a new type of fuel, or there's some way that or maybe it's electric or something like that. The behavior demonstrated by UFOs is vehicles that do not operate on propulsion at all. And if that it were possible to create something like that in some secret lab, it would not be possible realistically for that revolutionary level of understanding of physics, not just engineering, but physics themselves, that you would see top level physicists out there who would have some awareness of it. You can't, the top physicists in the world are all over. You're not going to be able to find some physicists and lock them in your secret lab and tell them, hey, let's figure out the most revolutionary advance in the basic in the most fundamental understanding of physics at all, so you can create a military aircraft that we can use against our enemies. Um, because if they had that ability to 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 understand physics like that, you would see other physicists throughout the world who would also have some level of understanding of that. And you're probably not going to be able to convince the absolute best and brightest physicists in the world to come work in your secret underground bunker and keep their revolutionary advancement of physics for the government and keep it secret and not tell anybody. No, if you had the ability to have physics that allowed you to create a craft that did not operate on propulsion at all and could accelerate, from 0 to 3,000 miles per hour in a split second. Um, that's that's frankly absurd. And so I'm not saying it was aliens, but it probably wasn't humans. So there are a lot of different possibilities for what it could be, what they could be, that that would and humans are probably, even though you can't rule out the possibility, it is one of the least likely possible explanations for the reasons that I just explained. Furthermore, um, so there's the argument from like how physics work and how physicists work. Um, this is not just advanced physics. This is like physics hundreds of years ahead. So there's that. But so I'm just gonna leave it there, and so that's my main argument. And the next one I'm going to explain more specifically why it's not the Chinese or the Russians. Even if it's human, it's not one of our enemies. So there you go, UFOs.